My wife really didn't get the chance to go into tech the way that we wanted to. Intel funded our education, and they were supposed to give us jobs. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing kind of went away when the bottom dropped out of the market. I was not a product manager before Google. I'd never had that title. Just because you haven't had the title doesn't mean you didn't do the work.
Facts. And you're like the second person that I've seen do this, is create a title for themselves called Cloud Therapist. So tell us a little bit about this title and impact that it's had as you've developed your career.
As a cloud therapist, my goal is I'm not there to be the smartest person in the room. I'm there to listen. I'm there to see how I can add value. You might need to lay on the couch and cry first about the bad projects that happen. But there's also a lot of good and bad stuff that happened before I ever showed up. I want people to see that, like, we can work there too. Yeah. We can work at the Twitters and we can work at the Googles. And honestly, in many cases, there are smart people that work there, but they're not smarter than us. But I want to give some actionable things. 3 things, and this is...
What up, D Hustle?
Yeah.
Welcome to our audience. We out in these streets.
Yes, sir.
Where we
Yes,
at,
sir.
D Hustle?
You know. I don't want to tell you.
Not this time?
It's in Houston.
Oh, big shout outs to Houston.
Shout out to CJ Stroud out there.
We enjoying ourselves in Houston, Texas. They say they do things big down here, and definitely want to give a big shout outs to the city. Big shout outs to everybody we've been running to. We was at a conference the other day, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we was at Black is Tech.
Oh, shout out to Black is Tech.
Yeah, big shout outs to Black is Tech. And our guest that we're bringing on stage very shortly also had a part in the conference itself. You know, your boy was up there too. You know,
I know.
Had a little bit of a conversation, but it's not all about me. I definitely want to say thank you for tuning in and thank you for pulling up with us today, because we got a very special guest. Let's bring my guy Bobby Allen to the stage. What's up, Bobby?
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you for having me.
What's going on? 2 Bobbies, right?
Right. I got you.
D Hustle ain't know what to do with himself.
Oh,
but Bobby Allen, man, thank you so much for pulling up.
Thanks for having me.
And let me tell you, I ran into you the other day, and I told you that I've been following your journey. And I want to first of all let you know I'm so appreciative that you're out here giving us your light, showing us your path and things that you've done and achieved, because it only inspires people like me. And I know the next generations are definitely inspired by that.
Thank you, brother. Very much likewise.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, give us a quick introduction of yourself. Let us know where you're coming from, where you're from. I know that you work at Google. It look like you're rocking Google already. You see that, D Hustle?
I see it. Shout out to Google.
Yeah, but go ahead and kick the conversation off. Tell us where you came from.
So we got to talk about the origin story a little bit, right? So I live in Charlotte now, a.k.a. Silicon South. We're not just country bumpkins sitting on practice. We know how to get it. There are a lot of Cracker Barrels there, yes, but we know how to get it done. But Bobby Allen's story started in the DMV.
That's what's up.
So Prince George's County, for those who know PG, shout out to PG.
Shout out to PG.
Prince George's County, did college there at UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, which is known for 2 things. We were the first 16 seed to be the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, or the UVA, right? But then also, UMBC has produced the most black PhDs in STEM.
Wow, that's what's up. Bring that up a little bit. Round of applause.
Some amazing people. Rhodes Scholars, Dr. Kizmiki Corbett, who actually helped come up with the COVID vaccine at Moderna, Surgeon Generals, all people that came from a particular program called the Meyerhoff program at UMBC. Wow. So my wife and I were part of that there. Then after
shout out to the wife, because a lot of wives get shout outs.
You know, he's going to shine a lot of light on her, though.
And we're going to have to talk about my wife, because my wife is like my secret weapon. So I'll shout out to the, I guess, just a little bit of advice. Like, I try to throw in some Bobbyisms.
Yeah.
I've been married 25 years. I just hit 25 years 2 weeks
ago.
And what I'll say to any of the brothers thinking about getting married, the right or the wrong woman can be like Popeye's spinach or Superman's kryptonite.
That's a gem right there. For sure.
And it's not addition or subtraction, it's multiplication or division. Like, the right partner adds that much juice in your tank. So my origin story started again in DMV, went to UMBC for undergrad, and true story, I saw my wife coming down the hallway, 17 years old. I said, I think that's my wife.
Oh, that's when you see it.
I knew after a month I was going to marry this lady. And so folks are like, man, like, did God shine a light on her? Like, what was it? And I'm like, honestly, God knew I liked tall black women with long hair. And she was an engineer. Like, I'm done. That's everything I did right there, right? So we go through undergrad together, computer science, get married after undergrad, go away to grad school at the University of Michigan, to do computer science and engineering together. But imagine being newlyweds being graded on a curve. So if she does better, I have to do worse. Artificial intelligence, algorithms, operating system databases. So we did all of that. We were actually Intel fellows at University of Michigan. We were the two folks Intel paid for in the department. And then my wife had the idea of like, we should go to Oregon, of all places. Oregon? I know you're looking at me, D Hustle, Oregon. Because most people, most folks are like, okay, most black folks anyway, not to be stereotypical, but like there's California, Canada, and something in the middle.
Facts.
And so we go out to Oregon, if you can believe this, and actually loved it. So Intel funded our grad school. We interned out there. Ended up moving out there permanently. I worked for Intel out there, had a great time. And so when we were out there, we felt like it was time to maybe start a family and all that.
Yeah.
But all our parents are still in the D.C. area.
Yeah,
so we're like,
Coast,
we don't want to have kids that don't know their grandparents and siblings and all that. So we're like, we got to get back to the East Coast, but not necessarily D.C. So we're like, where can we do? And so that's where Charlotte came on the map. Driving distance, short drive. Pro football, pro basketball, international airport.
The important things, right?
I got to rep for Charlotte, but all the good stuff there. And so I transitioned from Intel to Bank of America there. Had done kind of 6 years roughly at Intel as a developer / project manager, kind of did a lot of hybrid roles. I was cutting code, but I also wanted to kind of get a taste of kind of managing the direction where things were going. Got into Bank of America, came on as a business analyst, transitioned into other roles there. And honestly, Bobby, got frustrated because I felt like I got passed over for promotions. And there's a black executive there, a mentor of mine, and I said, man, this would happen. And he told me, he said, this time it's their fault, next time it's your fault.
Facts.
If you stay there and take it when they've showed you who they are, then that's on you.
Yeah.
And so I talked to another executive there. I said, man, if you were me, would you stay here? He said, sit down, close the door. He said, honestly, you're strong enough, you should probably leave. And around that time is when I got tapped for my first cloud computing startup. I did, before 3 years at Google, I did 10 years of cloud startups, starting in 2012. So I was doing multi-cloud in 2012. If you can believe that. Didn't know what in the world I was doing. Which, by the way, for anyone who looks me up on LinkedIn, I call myself a cloud therapist.
I see that.
Part of why I made up my own titles because I feel like we're making it up as we go along.
Facts.
In tech as well. So just be more honest about it. And so there's a lot that happens. So like when I show up as a cloud therapist, like you might need to sit on the couch and cry first.
Exactly, right?
A lot of stuff went badly before I got there, but did the startup thing. 3 startups. Startups have like a 90% failure rate typically. All 3 of the startups I did actually exited, if you can believe that. And that's just God's grace. So,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Learned a lot in that process, and maybe we can talk more about that later.
Yeah. But
the startup thing was really cool. And then got an opportunity to come to Google and been rocking there for the past 3 years and love it.
That's
great
what's
team,
up.
Great products.
Man, Bobby.
That's good news right there.
That journey right there, and this is like behind the scenes, and that's why we call it Backstage, so that we can get the real deal. And I mean, the eye opener is number one, you found a partner that could definitely ride with you, supporting you as you climb, because you're climbing together. The mindset in terms of being brave enough to go out to Oregon, right, of all places, because I don't, like he said, it's California, Canada, and that in between,
Only
right?
thing I know in Oregon is this Nike Corporation.
You always think about sneakers, D. And then finding your way back to the East Coast, and definitely something that I experienced too, because I moved out to San Francisco for a while, and I started to notice my kids, when we moved out there, my son was 3 and my daughter was about 9 years old, and they were missing that feeling that I had when I grew up with my siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa. And I was like, oh yeah, we got to find our way back, and definitely very, very much mindset wise. An eye opener that you were thinking about that.
Family's so important.
Yeah,
you gotta have those connections.
Yeah. Big shout outs to my wife. What up, my love?
Shout out.
We celebrating 18 years this year coming up, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah. D Hustle got a few years too.
Yeah, congratulations. I don't have to kill him.
How many years you got in, D?
I got 19 years.
19 years, yeah.
Respect.
Man. We definitely understand the value around family, and definitely, like you said, and I tell my son this. He's about to be 14, and I'm like, yo, you got to be mindful of the woman that you have around you. Your mom, she rides for your sister, she rides for whoever you add to that circle. Just be mindful of it, because it could set you one way or the other. So big ups to the journey that you set, and also the advice that you're giving, because our audience need to hear this for sure.
A lot of good gems out there.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned something that you've been at the keyboard, and definitely got into cloud since 2012. How do you compare from when that first started to where we are right now?
So there are a lot of things that are really similar. So cloud was just like, it was so crazy. We were figuring a lot of stuff out. And, when you're a consultant at a small company. The customer says they want to do something, you say yes, and then at lunchtime you're rapidly reading through stuff and talking to engineering like, can we do this? Can we do this? I had a guy at that startup, he said, I won't tell a lie you can't make true in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So if I say we can do it, I'm talking about the future y'all that are going to make it work in the next 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's part of what's exciting about startup life. Like, you're creating the future as you go.
Yeah, for sure.
But what was interesting was there was a whole lot of just figuring stuff out as we went along. Customers not knowing what they wanted. So one thing that I share with customers, Bobby, is that there are different kinds of debt that we deal with. And typically we're doing these big projects and even things with cloud because we want to figure out debt. But there are different kinds of debt. And I think we need to use our words, right? Kind of like if we were talking to kids. So there's technical debt.
Yeah.
I don't like what we're running. There's data debt. I don't know what we're running. And there's brain debt. I don't know what we want.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we got a lot of brain debt right now because people have a lot of Lego blocks and a lot of products, but don't know how to assemble those things to get the business value.
Yeah.
That is very similar to what we saw in the early days of cloud. Now, cloud has grown up a little bit more, but it's not a grown up yet.
Yeah.
I would say that cloud is the best of teenagers that just learn how to drive.
I like that analogy right there.
Good analogy on that one.
Thank you. It's old enough to have some responsibility, but it still needs a curfew and can do some damage if you don't check it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so cloud is access to all these resources, but then also lots of resources that maybe aren't harnessed the right way, and so you can still kind of make a mess. And so we've grown up in some ways, but then in other ways we haven't. For example, cloud is not just a destination, it's a journey and a mindset. And so a lot of people take old behavior to new places. So I've said before, it's like if you eat fried chicken at the beach, that doesn't give you a beach body.
Ooh, that's a bar right there.
So you got to make sure that you're changing your mindset as you change up the venue. So when you go to cloud, for example, you don't spin up the biggest, baddest thing that you need. The cloud is all about elasticity and on-demand resources. So you don't need a big Mac Daddy supersize type of computer database. You start with what you need, and then it scales up and down if you're using it responsibly. So again, sometimes the behavior is really, really difficult to change. And so in cloud, and we'll hopefully get into AI a little bit later, that's also something I'm super passionate about. But it's an exciting time, but it's a time where we still need to make sure we're having some training wheels on.
Yeah, for sure.
Lot of things we can do, but don't let it ride across the street just yet without an adult watching.
Make sure somebody's holding his hand, and then no doubt, especially when you start getting them bills and you forget what you're running. And I tell you, I've consulted a number of times, and after I find out, it was like, yo, why are you running this? Oh, I didn't even know we were running this. Yeah. So
I think that the cloud, Bobby, to that point would be like, so I've got a son who's 15, and I feel like his job in life, his job description, he feels like is to kill my grocery bill. he goes in the pantry, shuts the door, and I can just feel the money flying up,
flowing out, right?
into his stomach, right?
Yeah.
He does basketball, does track, eats everything in the world. But he can only do so much damage in my house. If I let him loose at a Ruth Chris, and he just has an open tab, right? The cloud is actually more like letting a football team loose at Ruth Chris with an open tab. And what is that bill going to look like?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be like, check please early.
Exactly. And that's what I think is, back to your point about cost. When we were in our data centers, there's only so much damage you could do. It was being in the house. But when you have all these virtually unlimited resources, full buffet and all that, and you bringing in all these hungry applications that could burn up all this stuff, that's where you get these bills that can be like, someone is going to get fired. I had a colleague who called that a resume generating event.
Wow.
We don't want to have those where you have that involuntary job.
Yeah, for sure. And the technology, like you said, has become designed in a way where elasticity is the benefits of it, but we don't understand what it means. Hey, you can get it, right? Versus, do you really need it? And or justifying the need is something that I've always taught my mentees is hey, especially when you're proposing things, first of all, document culture of writing, provide data, justification, and then execute versus, all right, let's just execute and see where we go, right? Yeah, for sure. Well, definitely. One thing that I did want to step back to, because I think it's something that I want you to definitely enlighten us a little bit more, especially that relationship you had with your wife and the growth and development that you had. Did you all both decide to go on different paths, or you're still both on the same paths as, cloud engineering and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, we went on different paths. And I do want to park here. There's a little bit of trauma and challenge here that I hope can connect with the listening audience. So So my wife really didn't get the chance to go into tech the way that we wanted to, and that worked out. We believe everything works out for a reason. So she's in real estate now, and has primarily been kind of at home. So our kids have never been to daycare. My wife has had a more flexible schedule. But if you can imagine, so there are not a lot of black women that have computer science and engineering degrees from Michigan, worked at NASA, worked at Intel, worked at Lockheed, and then got out and couldn't get a job. And so I remember going to Oregon. This is one of my toughest times as a husband. We moved out to Oregon. There was a tough job market at the time. Long story short, Intel funded our education, and they were supposed to give us jobs. And that whole thing kind of went away when the bottom dropped out of the market. And so they were kind of like, yeah, you're on your own. If you can interview and something comes together, great. But there was no systematic program anymore. So my wife got invited to interview, and I didn't. These were on site in Portland. She got invited to interview. But there was someone who got sick like the day before these interviews were supposed to happen. And like, well, Bobby's right here. I got a job and she didn't. She was number 11. There were 10 slots. They said, as soon as someone declines, we got you. Nobody declined because those were hot jobs at the time. The low point for me, Bobby, was when my wife applied to be a bank teller, and they said, you don't have the right kind of experience. I'm like, are you serious?
That's
working
wild.
at NASA and Intel and all that? And so that kind of, I think, gave her a little bit of a bad taste in her mouth about just, it doesn't matter what degrees I have. It doesn't matter what experience I have. Like, people are still going to see me as someone who's not capable. And so she went into other things. She actually went into working at an alternative school, really as a way to give back, which was an amazing way for her to model for kids that honestly this was like their last chance to earn a diploma. She did that, and then when we transitioned to the East Coast, she got into real estate as a more flexible thing to do with our family. And she's a real estate genius, by the way.
Oh, I bet you so.
Shout out
She's
to
a
her.
monster.
And that's the thing, exactly, right? Mindset wise, you knew she had it, right? It's just that the lanes wasn't open for her, but whatever lane opened her, you know she was going to excel. So big shout outs to her, big shout outs to her. And I'm hoping that this just enlightens everyone that's tuning in terms of the challenges we have. First of all, being underrepresented in all kinds of lanes, and then questioning our abilities. It's like mind blowing to me because I'm somebody that always believed that you first of all don't judge a book by its cover, because sometimes, and this has happened to me, thinking that somebody's not technically inclined, and I'm like, oh, you're more technically inclined than me, so it always made me humble. And then it's like mindset wise, it's like diversity on your team creates a better team. Whenever I operate on a team where it's all the same people, guess what? It's all the same ideas. As soon as you add just a little bit of diversity, a little bit of changes, that's when innovation happens. That's when things happen in growth. So I don't want people to feel like those challenges that a lot of people that we've grown up with hold us back. Push forward, keep pushing, and more or less just be mindful that the industry is evolving, but it's still challenging out there.
Can I jump in there for a second? I want to take it to the Marvel Universe for a second. So
Let's go.
One of my favorite movies is Black Panther, but maybe not for the reason that people think. If you look at the movie and think about this next time you look at the movie, Killmonger was physically bigger and stronger than Black Panther. T'Challa won because he listened to the women in his life.
Facts.
He had a team. Killmonger had no team. Black Panther had a team. That's the difference in the story. He had women in his life who advocated for him when he couldn't fight for himself.
Facts.
And if that's not a metaphor for us as men to listen to wisdom and insight that comes from non-traditional sources, I don't know what is. So what I say to some of the guys I mentor is, listening to your wife doesn't make you less of a man, but not listening to your wife can make you a less successful man.
Ooh, give him that at the gym right there. For sure. 100%.
There's 100%. No one in your life besides maybe your mama.
Say it again because sometimes people don't listen.
So we're running back. So listening to your wife doesn't make you less of a man, but not listening to your wife may make you a less successful man.
Fantastic.
She can see some things that you can't.
For sure.
And she may have insight into things, but like outside of maybe your mom, who else is there that's as aligned with your success as your wife?
100%. Because we're moving together. I go left, we go left. Exactly. I go right, we go right. And at the end of the day, mindset wise, my wife, and I honor her to the core, because I tell a lot of people, like, when I walk into a room, she sees you before I even see you type stuff, right? It's just mindset wise is that it's a collective that her and I have created, and when we move together. So thank you so much for enlightening us on this and definitely giving us some gems on this.
Thank you for the space to share that.
Of course. Now, there's another thing that you mentioned, and you're like the second person that I've seen do this, is create a title for themselves called Cloud Therapist. And I seen somebody else introduce me to a title. It was like a VP of Principal Engineering. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. So tell us a little bit about this title and definitely the impact that it's had as you've developed your career.
Thank you. So Cloud Therapist is a title that I made up. And part of why I made that up is because we're making up a lot of stuff as we go along in tech, as I talked about before. But what it allows me to do is it lets me define myself. So when I walk into a room or I do an executive briefing, you don't know what a cloud therapist is, so you don't have a preconceived notion about that necessarily. So think of cloud therapists like Spider-Man. Peter Parker is product manager. That's my actual job, or kind of the real name. But a lot of product managers try to lead with product feats of strength. I'm one Kubernetes release away from saving the world. Well, it's maybe not quite that simple.
Maybe
right?
not.
So as a cloud therapist, my goal is I'm not there to be the smartest person in the room. I'm there to listen. I'm there to see how I can add value. You might need to lay on the couch and cry first about the bad projects that happen. But there's also a lot of good and bad stuff that happened before I ever showed up.
Yeah.
And so I want people to have that mindset there. I'm there to listen. I want to help. I want to be empathetic. And if there are products that I can bring to the table that help you achieve your outcomes, then that's fine. But that's secondary. The products are secondary. You as the customer and what you want to achieve is what I care about.
Yeah, that's what's up. And let me tell you, I really like the idea of, even when you're going into the conversation, is that you're providing a service different than trying to sell a service, right?
Yes.
And when you understand when you're providing a service, you really understand the challenges they have. And then you're looking in your bag like, oh, these are the solutions we can provide.
Exactly.
And it definitely makes, even, in terms of just engaging with companies, a more better interaction. So if people are into product management, I mean, this is a great example of how you can support your customers and also present yourself in a way that's always helping rather than just trying to force and push that, bottom line per se.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Can I give I guess one thing for your audience?
Yeah,
Bobby,
go ahead.
Yo,
the mic is yours, player. So anytime you want to do what you
it's
do.
your show. I'm in your house, man. But I want to give just some transparency to the audience. So, I don't want you all to think like, man, product manager, Google Cloud, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was not a product manager before Google. I'd never had that title. And my encouragement to your listeners is just because you haven't had the title doesn't mean you didn't do the work.
Facts.
I was a CTO before. I was an engagement lead, program management, like all those things that I drew on. And so don't let people pigeonhole you because you haven't had the words when you've done the work.
That's what's up. And I really enjoy that because you are right. And especially our culture. We don't do just one time. We do 5, 10 times.
Yes.
And what does that mean? I'm doing 2 or 3 different roles just to make sure that I'm seen and or that I'm at least being considered.
Yes.
And I really do like the idea that even transitioning from engineering to product to engineering is keeping that lane open because one of the skill sets that I've always enjoyed about product managers, especially if they were engineers before, right? If they understand the code. Low key, when I was at Twitter, we used to have product managers write unit tests. They'd be like, hey, I want this feature. All right, go write a unit test. It gives us the feature. And I was like, oh, perfect. Now we're going to go write the feature code and all that stuff. So it's always great to have those multiple skill sets. But I really like the fact that you're not pigeonholing yourself and be like, hey, I can only do this. Right. Because this industry is iterating so fast, so quickly. Yeah. And definitely tell me about how you feel about the iteration speed that we've been on.
Oh, man, it's going faster and faster all the time. Like, this is where it's really important for people to be grounded. Because you can get imposter syndrome like crazy now because things are changing so quickly. But I think it's important to understand, this is what I say sometimes, Bobby, in other formats. So everything new isn't good and everything old isn't bad. The key now is about mastering the remix, about which new things to embrace and what old things to retain. So you probably know some things that you can build on, and then some of the new stuff is a distraction. Yeah. Right? So figuring out kind of what that right remix is. So like, I got to take it to hip hop for a second. So I'm old school, right? Tribe Called Quest. And Midnight Marauders, to me, like probably one of the best albums of all time. And look at, for a lot of those tracks, those go back to like jazz samples from decades ago. But then, they put their lyrics on top of that and they came up with something that was really special. And I think that's the mindset people have to have is like, I don't know everything, but I don't know nothing either. So I am bringing something to the table that I can build on, whether that's tech expertise or domain expertise or life experience. Like, there's so many things where you have something that you can probably hook into and build on. You've got some sort of foundation. So don't come at this like, I don't know anything about it. Like, I don't know maybe this aspect of that yet, but there are other things that I'm going to get into, and I can probably work with that.
Oh, thank you for them gems and bringing up old school jams. Let me tell you, music ain't like it used to be, D. I mean, I'm still reflecting on it.
Still reflecting with the roots too.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Cypress Hill, we was actually in New York a few weeks ago, and we was in East New York. And every time I go to East New York, the train stop that we get off is right before Cypress Hill. Wow. And I'm like, yo, this is how y'all moved out here. This is the area. This is the vibe, and it's just the culture itself. You can really feel it and understand the rhymes and rhythms that they put together to really, reflect where their journey is. And let me tell you, for me, it's always great to reference back to it, especially how impactful it was. I'm an 80s baby, so it definitely driven me, and definitely an appreciative to where that culture has evolved over time. So big shout outs to that. For sure. Now, in terms of future, and this is going to be something you quickly mentioned, but I've always want to have an interesting conversation with technologists like yourself, because I have this binocular view. And I did this during my talk the other day when somebody asked me about the future, and I was like, oh, look, I'm looking on the horizon and I see a tsunami coming, and that thing is called AI, and it's way in the cut, but just imagine, like, as it's approaching, it's like meters high, right? So my question is just the future of tech, future of iteration. How do you feel about AI, and where do you think we're going with all this?
So let me ground this, okay? I want to give people some contrast, and I want to tell a story. And I want to just kind of weave in a little bit of like where I think things are, where they're going. Okay. So for the ballers out there. So I would say cloud is to AI as Jordan is to Kobe.
Ooh, give him a gem for that. Say that again. I'm about to take, I'm over here writing notes down, right?
It's all good. So cloud is the AI as Jordan is to Kobe, meaning just like Kobe built on Jordan's foundation and learned better because he had Jordan's trainer and Jordan's coach and Jordan's offense, and he could ask him for advice. AI is absolutely built on the foundation that cloud laid down.
100%.
The ability to build language models quicker and have elastic resources and all of that. So, but I would also say, to put it in context, here's my executive summary for AI, right? AI is not the thing. AI is the thing that makes the thing better. So if you think about this like food, AI is the sauce or the spice, it's not the dish. Ooh. And so shout out, again, I told you I grew up in Prince George's County. Anybody know about mumbo sauce out there?
Mumbo sauce.
Mumbo sauce is for those who don't know, it's like it's sweet, it's sticky, it's a little bit hot, it's fire. You got to try some. But you wouldn't put mumbo sauce on the plate and call that a meal. Now, if you put that on some chicken, you put that on some shrimp, it's like, man. But you also wouldn't put sauce on nasty meat. That's still a nasty dish.
Facts.
And where I think people are getting lazy, Bobby, when it comes to AI is they're putting mumbo sauce on half-baked dishes.
Yeah.
The application typically is the dish, or at least the use case of what you're trying to solve for the customer. So think about what I want to do for the customer. Think about AI enhancing that, and then you have something that's a finished product.
That's what's up. I like that mindset because I think it gives people clarity, especially when you tied it with cloud and what it provides an elasticity in terms of computing resources and then AI. But then just the fact that you think of AI being that extra touch, that extra season, that extra like whatever that is, that right there is what makes that dish the next level.
So
That's
so let me give your audience something else to build on. So when it comes to, because this is changing all that, there's always going to be something new, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the level of expertise is being pushed down. So before we were just computer people.
Yeah.
Then we became cloud people. Then we became AI people. That's not even enough now. Is it AI training? Is it AI inference? Is it AI fine tuning? Is it RAG? Like, what is it? And so what I think is happening is like AI can become a junk drawer. You can't do all of it. So you have to kind of decide what you want to specialize in. But here's the point, because things are changing a lot. Career-wise, Bobby, your listeners will not be Kobe. They will be LeBron. They're not going to work for one team or have one skill set their whole year. They're going to be a franchise where they evolve from one thing to the other. And they're going to, like, did LeBron forget how to shoot a basketball when he went to Miami or when he went to LA? No. He was able to build on a lot of what he had and change it and mix it up. We're going to be the same way.
That's what's up.
There's always going to be something new coming. So think about how to hook the old to the new and take that with you when you go play for the new team in the new city.
That's what's up. Yo, I'm about to get a new jersey already. What are you talking about?
There you go.
But yo, I really, really enjoy the way you're able to connect this because our audience are going to really understand this, from Jordan to Kobe to LeBron.
Especially the analogy for me. It's letting people know exactly how it looks, how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, shout out to you right now.
Oh my gosh. This is why he's a therapist. You ever go to a therapist and you be like, man, I don't know how somebody could explain it to me. And they explain to me like, my eyes just open up. My whole world just boom.
I didn't think about it that way.
Facts, right? And thank you so much for this contributions that you're making. And this is, like groundbreaking contributions because it's going to impact the next ones that are coming up because now they have great reference points. They may not have been around during the Jordan era or the Kobe era, but they definitely been around around LeBron, and LeBron definitely gives them blessings and credits and their roses down to that.
He does.
And you understand why, and then that motivates them to even push themselves even more. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Plus,
that's
everybody
amazing.
knows Jordan, so it's like you don't have to be in the air with
Jordan. This guy's Mr. Jordan himself, bro.
Everybody knows Jordan.
That's my guy.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So one thing that I definitely want to chop it up a little bit more about is, you know, one thing that I've always admired about your journey is the impact that you've been making to our community, especially from, you know, mentoring and definitely providing insights into that leadership space, because I'm somebody that always enjoyed being at the keyboard. I wanted to be a principal engineer, obviously help influence, but I never really wanted to move into that leadership. But just tell me, you know, how that journey has been for you in terms of, first of all, the value system that you're creating in the process, and also that leadership mentoring that you provide.
Yeah, thank you. Leadership is huge. I mean, I think as a leader, there are a couple things that I try to do the most for the people that consider me to be a leader in their life. The first one is just being present, just giving you their time, because we know time is a non-renewable resource. Yeah. Anyone who's giving you their time, like, really deserves your best. And so I try to be present. I also try to be vulnerable. So this is my personal revelation, Bobby, is that I've realized the older I get, I'm simultaneously a masterpiece and a train wreck, sometimes in the same day. And if I can be comfortable with that, then I can talk to the people that are willing to confide in me, like, yeah, you did blow it up this time, but it's okay, because you're going to learn from it, right?
You know?
Like, we got to have those people in our lives who can say, you did your best, but that wasn't your best. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to iterate better for next time. Let's talk about how to do better for that job interview next time, or how to do this task differently. But there's also a level of just investment, right? So for the people that work for me, or the people that I invest in, this is what I say. Most of the time when something works out, especially if you've hired somebody, I tell the folks that work for me or that I've hired, it's more my fault than your fault, because I chose you. And so that means that I've got to give you room to fail. I've got to give you room to mess up. I've got to give you clarity, which is really, really important, right? And I hope the listeners hear me. Clarity is its own style.
Yeah.
Clarity is its own style. Being clear matters so much more than being deep, or so much more even than being persuasive. Be clear about what you're looking for. Be clear about what you expect. And folks will know kind of what they can bring to the table to meet that. So be present, be clear, be vulnerable is what I try to model for folks. And then I don't know if you know this, Bobby, I'm also a pastor. So just to take it to the face off for a second, I think everyone from a leadership perspective needs to have 3 people in their life, 3 relationships. You need a Paul, a Timothy, and a Barnabas. You need someone you're learning from, someone you're sharing with, and someone you're walking beside. There should be someone who's not in your same season of life who you're gleaning wisdom from, right? Someone call them an old head or OG or whatever. Yeah. There should be somebody younger where you can say, man, don't do it like I did, or lady, don't do it like I did. Here's some landmines that I hit. And I think there's a level of humility to admit where you missed it and allowing that to be a blessing to someone else, because it shows you're invested enough in their success to have them do better than you, right?
Facts.
I tell my kids, someone said a long time ago, this isn't mine, I forgot who said it, but a foolish person doesn't learn from their mistakes. A smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from someone else's mistakes. Be wise and transfer that wisdom to the next generation. But then you also need that person that's right beside you in the same season. Someone who's like similar phase of life, maybe similar phase of career. And it's like, yeah, man, I'm in that with you too. Like, I understand what that's like. So I've been really blessed, Bobby. I serve as a pastor, but my lead pastor has known me since I was 14 years old.
That's what's up.
Since I was a child, and I've grown up, and he ordained me, and it's just amazing having a man who's in my life who can get in my business, which is another thing I want to just impress upon your listeners. Have people in your life who you trust enough that when they tell you something you don't want to hear, you know it comes from a good place and you won't dismiss it as a red herring.
Facts.
We put people around us we don't trust, and when they say something, then we roll out and break the relationship. Yeah. And then we take that same baggage and trauma to the next thing and keep doing more damage. Who are those constant people? Like, your role is going to change, your job is going to change, where you live is going to change, but there should be a certain number of people in your life who have permission to tell you, man, you are blowing this up. Yeah. You are going off track, and so I love you, but you're wrong. Everybody needs at least one person to do that. And from a leadership perspective, I can't expect other people to do that if I'm not modeling that myself. So that's part of being transparent.
That's what's up, Bobby. And let me tell you, man, this right here is by far one of my favorite recordings we've done so far, because you are dropping gems. And it's not just, hey, let's go get this job, make this money, and do this type of stuff. It's like real foundational things that if you get this right, all that other stuff just comes with it. Especially with those that are around you. Oh my gosh, yes, you should listen to that OG. Yes, you should give back to the next one that's coming up. And definitely the one that's standing next to you that knows you from day one, they're going to be the one that's going to get in your face and really let you know what's good. That's powerful.
We need that.
That is powerful. And the other cool thing about this is that you bring this into your leadership strategy and the way that you do leadership. And that's something that I'm hoping that our audience can feel as you're growing and develop. These same skills that you're applying, especially your faith and the way that you are, you bring that to your workplace and you just keep it aligned, and nobody can ever look at you differently. That's what's up.
I think one of the things that's helped me grow as a leader, honestly, is when you have teenagers. Oh my goodness!
So we both got a few.
Oh my gracious! So my wife and I have a really open relationship, and we challenge each other. And my wife said to me one time, she said, X company is getting rock star at work, but I don't feel like I'm getting rock star at home, brother. I'm like, oh, that hurt. There was something there that I need to listen to. So similarly, my daughter has seen me before when I'm traveling a whole lot and I'm missing stuff at home. I walked in one time. She said, "Oh, mommy's boyfriend is home."
Ooh.
I was like, "Good grief!"
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, you live here now?" Like we've been a family of three for so. Yeah. But you gotta not take yourself too seriously and have people that can just kind of like poke the bear a little bit. And it's like, you know what? There was some comedy there, but there's also some truth there, because my daughter's saying she misses me. Yeah. My wife is saying like you haven't been as present.
Yeah.
I would encourage anybody listening who's married to ask your partner this question. How often do you get my undivided attention? Listen to what they say and don't be defensive. And it may be stuff you don't want to hear, but you got to be able to check in like that to say, like, are we missing each other? Am I so focused on chasing the bag, getting a promotion, getting these certs or whatever that they're like, I don't know you anymore.
Yeah. And that's some powerful words right there, because if mindset wise the house is not healthy, how do you think it's going to work when you go out, right?
Exactly.
And then you don't want the reverse part, right? They say work-life balance. No, I said I want life and then work balance, right? And that's the way that I've always felt like, is that the household needs to be taken care of. And yeah, I got a daughter like that too. She's 18 now, and she's one of those. She cracks that whip so quick, and I'm like, what? And I was like, all right, don't take it. I was like, listen. I was like, oh, that's what she's trying to say. I'm sorry about that. It's Sunshiner. What's up, Sunshiner?
Yes.
And in general, these are really foundational mindset shift that I'm hoping our audience are listening in, tuning in. Remember that sound. Give them the sound so that they can rewind. The gym sound. Yeah, there's a button on there that when you rewind, D Hustle has been marking them, and gems that Bobby Allen has been dropping. And my brother, this is something that's really, really impactful. The other thing that I wanted to jump into is I've been seeing you on these streets, public speaking, conferences and stuff right there. We're here at the Blackest Tech Conference here in Houston. But tell me what really, helps drives that. Is that you pastor and doing speaking there, and it's just another avenue for you? But tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the public speaking thing for me is it's not about me. I want to encourage people that come to these conferences to be able to see us in these places. So when they see someone black on stage that works for Google, for example, I want them to know that, like, you can ask me questions. We took live questions from the audience yesterday. I talked to folks after the session. I want people to see that, like, we can work there too.
Yeah.
We can work at the Twitters and we can work at the Googles. And honestly, in many cases, there are smart people that work there, but they're not smarter than us. Sometimes we just don't have the opportunities because we don't live in Silicon Valley or Seattle or New York. But I don't want us to doubt ourselves, and I want to be the person that says, like, yes, I was working at a startup that didn't have VC funding in Charlotte, and people are like, you country bumpkins didn't come up with something that's good, but I had to learn how to represent and use that to my advantage. And so I want people to be able to see themselves. So I remember my daughter was struggling with math one time. This was in elementary school. She was struggling with math one time. And we sat down as a family and we watched the movie Hidden Figures. And so in my house, when I ask my kids if they're ready for a test, ready means you're going to get an A, but it really means you feel like you've got a chance to get 100, right? Correct. That's what ready means. She had been struggling with some different things. And even though, I work at Google and my wife and I worked at NASA and all that kind of stuff, sometimes you need to see another example for it to get through. So I remember asking my daughter, there was a test coming up after Hidden Figures. I'm like, baby, you ready? She said, Dad, I'm going to rock that test like I'm Katherine Johnson.
There we go.
She saw herself in these black women, that even gives me chills, Bobby. Thinking about what those women did, putting men on the moon and bringing them back safely with like slide rules, essentially. And they didn't have I'd be scared to do it with the computer today.
Facts.
The stuff that they did was amazing. Like they had vision that went further than the tech. I think we've got the opposite problem now. The tech goes further than our vision.
Facts.
That's a different conversation, maybe for another time. But she was able to see herself. So I want people to see themselves when someone like me is on stage, that we can be in these spaces and that we can also be excellent but accessible.
Yes.
We can be killing it, but we can be humble. We can give back, and we can do our best to use our platform charitably to encourage the other people coming after us. Like, I didn't get up there and pull up the ladder behind me. I want to lift as I climb to make sure other people can benefit.
That's a bar right there. Lift as we climb. Oh my gosh, Bobby. This right here, Hidden Figures is one of my movies too. I only dreamt that I could have seen that when I was growing up. Because the thing that even got me going is when in the movie they were like, hey, we need to go to the computers. And the computers were individuals. Yes. They were doing the mathematics and using these massive formulas. And there was even one scene, she was like, oh, I remember an algorithm, but let me go look it up and like encyclopedia type stuff and find the algorithm. Like for me, it was like so impactful to understand that happened, let alone who they look like, where they came from, their experience, the mindset. And I'm just so grateful that this next generation gets exposed to that. And big shout outs to like the whole squad over there making that type of movie, because it's something that's going to change the lives of the next ones coming up. 100%. And you're going to change the lives of people. I mean, like I said, I did my research on Bobby Allen. I was like, all right, Google. I was like, all right, but let me dive a little bit deeper. I was like, ooh, dive deeper. Ooh. And I even seen you were doing a report with a podcast with The Cube, and it's when you go to conferences and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, you featured on The Cube? I was like, oh, let me tune in and let me listen to that, because those type of things are things that I used to look at and never even seen anybody that looked like me. And I'm like, oh, Bobby Allen was there? Oh, I need to listen to this episode.
Thank you.
Oh man, congratulations.
And shout out to the folks on The Cube too, because they've done a great job of giving platforms to diverse people.
For sure.
I've actually been blessed to be on The Cube, I think 5 times now. So for those who don't know, I want to give on-ramps to the people that are listening. Think of The Cube as like ESPN at a tech event.
Facts.
Right? So it's kind of like a live show floor, and you've got like the commentators and the guests on there, but there might be thousands of people walking by when you're talking. So I've been blessed to be able to do that. The folks at The Cube are super cool, great people, a lot of insights, and they pull in guests from the community to kind of enlighten the audience about tech stuff. Yeah,
big shout-outs to them, because we definitely need allies like that understand the value of providing a platform for individuals like you to be seen, and definitely the high level of conversations that you're having too. It's like, it's not like we're just talking. No, we're really talking.
Going deep.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Awesome, man. So the last question I have for you is like, what I'm really hoping for is that you can really give, and you've been giving advice the whole day. The gems, the conversation is on point. But do you have any, advice for like the future, those that are just thinking about getting into tech, or those that are in tech, but in general, just the future with the technologies that we're exposed to, cloud, AI, and any advice that you would have for our community?
So one, don't try to boil the ocean. You can't do all of it. Like, you won't know it all. You can't do it all. You can't be it all. Like, pick some things, start there, and then build on that. If you try to do all of it, you're going to feel like you're failing at everything. Yeah. Number 2, training doesn't age well. So if you take training, practice, right? Don't just look at the video, do the lab. Like, try it. See where there are things. And some of these labs actually have, little known fact, some of these labs are stale, or some have mistakes in them purposely that trip you up. And finding those is actually part of the learning journey, seeing how to get past that stuff. So try stuff out, which with the cloud, that's what's beautiful. Bobby, people can start up a free account and be spinning up databases in Germany in like 30 minutes. Like, you can do stuff now that you didn't have access to before, which is amazing. So try things out. I would also say, think about people that you want to watch, right? Like, listening to programs like this is great, right? So shout out to you for having the vision to start stuff like this. But also YouTube, man. YouTube has some amazing stuff. Like, just in general, I call it YouTube University. I've met several people that have transformed their life from listening to people on there. And again, YouTube has so many different things. people that were not in tech that got into tech, people that have leveled up in tech, people that were in homeless shelters that taught themselves skills. I know women that are at Google and Meta that transformed their lives from stuff they saw on YouTube.
That's what's
and
up.
From things that they did online. So super cool stuff there. I would also say when it comes to technology, don't pigeonhole yourself. So let me back it up. There's something in your background that you may have done or be passionate about that you can tap into. You might have worked at Chick-fil-A in high school. Great. Why can't you go work in tech at Chick-fil-A?
Facts.
And redesign the app for the drive-through?
Because you know what needs to be better in it.
You know how the drive-through works.
Yeah,
So what people need to think about, Bobby, is think about operating at the intersection of technology and domain expertise. What is it that you know? Like, I drove for Uber. Now, can I go work in tech for Uber? I used to work in insurance. Can I go work in the back end for insurance? Like, can I work on the opposite side behind the curtain of something that I know really well, right?
Yeah.
I used to work in a commercial kitchen. Now I kind of work on the supply chain stuff for how the ingredients get to the restaurant. There's so many things that we can tap into that we know. Just knowing tech by itself is often not enough.
Yeah.
We have to know how to apply it. And I think if our audience leans into what are you passionate about? What do you know? What excites you? And then I think you got to be able to see someone's face, right?
Yeah.
So in corporate America, we talk about people, process, technology all the time. I actually don't like that. I like people, process, problem. And technology is almost like under the surface or behind the scenes.
Correct.
Technology is like the electricity behind the wall. We don't say, man, come over here and look at my new 110 wire behind the drive.
Right?
We say, look at my new TV or my
Facts.
new Tesla charger, right? Technology is going to fade away and it's going to be about what you're doing with it, but you got to know what to do with it. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the key. So I would also encourage people to be creative. So I love food analogies. I got to give you one more. My daughter is like the air fryer princess, right? So one of the people that was at the conference, Angie Jones, is the air fryer queen. My daughter's the air fryer princess.
Shout outs to Angie Jones.
Shout out to Angie. Got to meet her in person. She's super cool. So my daughter like exclusively does chicken nuggets in the air fryer. Like that's her thing, right? I do, by the way, for those who are into potato side dishes, I hate to tell your readers that they may be, or your listeners, they may be wrong. Tater tots are the superior potato. They just are. Like, don't talk to me about hash browns or fries. It's about the tater tot, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that blew my mind, Bobby, so tater tots, chicken nuggets, and air fry, great. I was home one time in Maryland, and I was at my mother's house. And she put a croissant in an air fryer. Brother, let me tell you, it was moist. It was crispy. It was just right.
Word.
Oh, my God. I said, Mom, what is that? The point is sometimes you are taking something that you know like an air fryer and something else that you know like a croissant and it's just putting them together.
Marrying them together.
So sometimes your audience has the different pieces. They just are coming up with a new combination, almost like a remix on a hip-hop album, right?
Yeah.
You're taking those different elements and combining it in a different way. So I hope the people listening feel like they can just be super creative because there's so many different things that we're doing. It's going to take all of us bringing our best ideas to solve a lot of this. Pit stop for a second. One of the things that we need people to look into, for example, is the planet. Let me park here for a second. So natural language processing was one of the early precursors to AI.
Correct.
Training one NLP model is the equivalent environmentally of 125 trips between Beijing and New York.
Facts.
Think about all the resources that are going into cloud and AI and all these models. Like we need people that are trying to, build the next generation, build the Star Trek transporter, but also save the planet.
Facts.
We need people that are thinking about the legacy we're leaving our kids. That's not just about the tech, but like, are we going to have a planet that we can actually live on? So we need all of these folks leaning into creatively looking at things. So let me give you one specific thing that I do see coming though for kind of a prediction. So we've been focusing a lot on training AI. I think we're going to move a lot more into inference.
Yes, yeah.
So let me come get the listeners who may not know what that is. So training AI is AI on the practice field. Inference is AI in the game.
Facts.
So this is where you're actually using AI for insights in a car, on a phone. You actually want to leverage the model to do something versus just training. That's what a lot of what we've been focusing on. You're going to see a shift from training to inference, I think, going into 2025. So if you want to start to look at things, understand the models. But most people listening won't be creating models. They'll be using models.
Correct.
So think about how to use the models to get value out of those.
Yeah, 100%. Man, Bobby, you're dropping some gems, my brother.
Thank you.
Inference is next up because you are right. The amount of resources they need to train the models are massive.
It's crazy.
It is like, and I was doing some research on this because I have some partners that I'm potentially working with down in South Florida, and they're like, hey, we want to go do this. I was like, first of all, do you have enough power? Do you have enough cooling? Do you know how much heat comes off of those GPUs? Yeah. Like, y'all think it's just...
not trivial.
Yeah, right? But in general, the mindset that you're giving our audience, I want to say thank you so much. This is definitely on top of my list of podcasts, and there's been so many gems. Now, we're not going to end yet, because this part of the segment of our podcast is you get to ask me a question. So this is an opportunity. If you had anything that come up, if you don't, it's all right. But in general, definitely want to give you the chance to throw something my way if you had any questions that you want to ask.
I guess my question for you is, and I'll lead with where I'm going with this. So I had a mentor. One of my earliest mentors was kind of an old retired master sergeant. And he just talked to me about discipline, about etiquette. And to this day, because of that gentleman, I carry a handkerchief with me all the time. He just always talked about a man having a handkerchief in case you need to wipe your brow or give it to a lady or whatever. My question for you is, who can you remember in your life who invested in you, maybe even before you believed in yourself, that taught you something, that gave you some insight, like back into your origin story? Who was it that invested in the early version of BobbyD that you can remember?
Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much for that question. And I'm going to tell you a story real quick. When I was younger, I remember I had one of those book reports that you take home and they say, hey, you need to write a story about your hero. And for me, I'm following along with all my friends, and they're like, oh, Michael Jordan or this person, that person. And I get home and I'm talking to my pops, and he's like, oh, so who do you feel? And before I could even say it, the tears are dropping from my eyes, because it's my father that's my hero. And I'm like, in my mind, like, I could not really understood how impactful was it until he asked me, and that situation happened. And it was really like, and it even gets me going a little bit now, because my family are first generation Haitian American. Wow. They came to this country in the 80s, and my mother and father met each other in the fields picking. And my father had my mother early in terms of getting pregnant, and he has stuck out from day one. They've been together for almost 45 years. Wow. And when I think of my journey as a child, I always, regardless of the job that my dad had, I always looked up to him and understood his hustle, his drive. And he instilled so many things in me, so many things such as, what do you want to do after high school? He was like, yo, you're good at this. Don't go spend all this money. Go and get certified. Go and get this vocational school and get into the industry quick. So when I look back, somebody that, yes, he was an authoritative figure, and definitely somebody that was leading in our family, in our household. But I can't say nobody else but my father. Wow. Because this man, he really has really shaped me to be a king in my own household. And I tell my dad all this time, I'll be like, my mom's my pharaoh, but my dad's my king. Wow. Right? Wow. And when I look up to my mother, it's my first love. But my father, oh my gosh, he would tell me go left. It didn't matter. I wouldn't even look. I would go left. And that's who has really impacted my life from day one. So big shout out to my pops.
That's dynamite, man. I can relate to that. There's just to be transparent a little bit too. So my parents were divorced, but my dad was absolutely in my life. And he was one of my biggest supporters. My dad has dementia now. And so he knows who I am, but doesn't really know how old I am and a lot of other things. I think he kind of knows my name, but it's tough because I feel like I'm losing my dad a little bit. Yeah. And what I would say for the listeners, combining my story with yours, is give people their flowers while they can smell them. Not just while they're alive. Yeah. But when they know that you're giving them their flowers and that you respect them. And don't take for granted those relationships we have with the older generations and the wisdom that comes from. One of my favorite memories, Bobby, was sitting with my great-grandfather, eating peanuts, listening to football, because he would tell me, we don't need to watch it on TV because the commentators on the radio are better because they have to paint the picture with their words. Ooh. It slowed me down and gave me patience. So when you have these older men and women in your life, value them, treasure them. Let them know that you celebrate them. So, man, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much for asking that question. And you're talking about painting words. That right there is like one of the most effective ways for your imaginations to trigger and get back on. Yes. Is being able to listen to a football game, imagining it. Oh my gosh,
that's
definitely some good advice there.
Amazing.
Well, thank you for that question. Anything else you got lined up?
I wanted to give, I guess, maybe some takeaways to the audience. I don't know if we're going to land a plane soon, but I want to give some actionable things.
Oh, 100. The runway's right there, player.
So I want to give you 3 things, and this is how I finished up some of the session at the conference yesterday. So one, in terms of health advice, a bad workout is better than a good excuse.
Give him that gem right there.
So we can put so much energy into pursuing the bag and chasing titles that you neglect your health. Health isn't everything, but with everything and not your health, you got nothing. So we got to invest in that. So trust me, when you want to, if you get the money to take your family on these trips or whatever, these international airports are no joke. You want to be able to travel under your own power, not be rolled through if you can help it. Right? So you want to be able to enjoy those things. And so invest in your health consistently, right? No one else can invest in that but you. Do it consistently. And I'm a little more seasoned than some of the other folks.
You still looking young, though.
So, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm 46. I'll be 47 soon.
That's what's up. Congratulations.
By God's grace, I can still throw up about 325 in the gym.
Okay. Look at him.
Run 20 miles an hour. I can get it done now. Yeah. So I'm the Black Captain America.
There we go.
I can do this all day. But I'm thankful. But I will say this in terms of the workout thing, just to be transparent. So I'm 200 pounds. I'm 6'1". I can still wear a size 34 pants, which is what I wore in high school.
Congratulations.
But thank you. I work out 3 days a week. 3 days a week. I've been doing 3 days a week for 20-something years. I go Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. I do an hour and a half those 3 days, and that's all I do.
That's it.
And so you can have a sustainable pace that is not crazy. So you come up with a plan that works for you. Don't worry about chasing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Never done creatine, never done supplements. Watch what you eat. Get in there. Consistency beats intensity over time every time.
Facts.
Every single time. So that's the health advice. Tech advice, real fine point. Seroter.com. Seroter. Richard Seroter is Google's chief cloud evangelist. That's the guy that hired me into Google. Amazing guy, great ally. He puts out a daily newsletter.
That's what's up.
Go to his site, subscribe to the newsletter. I guarantee you will get smarter about tech, development, AI, leadership from the stuff he puts in his newsletter every day. It's amazing. Sign up for it, hit it. And then the life advice. So many folks, Bobby, are concerned around how many folks are listening, the audience, the platform. And this is my advice. Make sure you have people in your life who are investing in the depth of your character, not just the size of your platform.
Facts.
A small platform means we don't know you. Shallow character means we can't trust you. Some of us have smaller platforms because I believe God is giving us a chance to work out some of those chinks in the armor before everybody can see it. Character. The platform will come if it's supposed to, but if it doesn't, be consistent where you are. Be excellent no matter the size of your platform, and just treat people with respect, man.
That's what's up. And I'm writing this all down because he's speaking to my spirit right now. He's speaking to my spirit. Well, D Hustle, I think we're getting close to the end of our conversation here. Turn that music up a little bit. I want to hear it. Come on. There we go. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, my guy Bobby Allen, man. It's so nice to meet you in person.
Likewise.
It's so nice to be in your present. Your spirit is beaming, and I'm so grateful to accept your rays and your knowledge because this is life-changing, not just for our audience, but for me, D Hustle, and all those that are around us. So, number one, there's this button that you press, that rewind. You better rewind and listen in because we're building a community, we're building a platform, and we're talking to minds that I guarantee you it's 1 in a billion chance you get to hear from them, and you get to hear from them here at the Tech Hustle. So, definitely, thank you all so much for tuning in with Backstage with BobbyD. Holla at your boy. It's BobbyD.